YouTube world, welcome to my brand new channel, Flip Flops and Short Stops, where I practice my love of flipping furniture and make a profit to help pay for my son's travel baseball expenses. My name is Jana. I have 3 boys. One is already finishing college, but I still have 2 boys in travel baseball, and y'all, it is so expensive. The team fees, uniforms, hotels, restaurants when you're out of town, it's just so expensive. So I'm going to show you my flips, and I'll even show you my flops. Yikes! Some are going to be home runs and some are going to be strikeouts. I'm still learning with each piece that I do. Maybe you can learn from some of my mistakes. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and start with a flop just to make you feel better about yourself. And if you stick around to at least the middle of my videos, I'm going to add a segment called Confessions of a Flip-Flopper. So you don't want to miss that. Okay, so let's check out my most recent flop right now. I got this beautiful solid wood French Provincial style dresser from Facebook Marketplace for free. It had dovetail joinery on the drawers, so it was well made. Some of the drawers did need repairing, and some of the hardware was missing and broken. I want this to be kind of an oversized coffee bar. I'm picturing the top and legs be stained, and I'm planning to paint the body of the dresser black with maybe gold hardware. So I repaired the drawers, I gave it a good cleaning and a good scuff sanding for paint. I modified the base to be a little more rounded off and added legs for more height. I'm also planning to use this old modified headboard to put on top. So I stripped the paint off the top, then sanded it, starting with 40, then 80, 120, 220. I put my wood conditioner on and then my stain. And as I was finishing the stain, I started seeing swirling marks from my orbital sander, and my heart sank. I immediately knew what I did. I was not careful enough to make sure my sander stayed level and with almost no pressure applied. I have a tendency to teeter-totter my sander to kind of pinpoint a small area, and as tempting as it is, you cannot do that. So remember, don't put any added pressure on the sander. Don't go so fast. Slow down. And probably most importantly for swirly marks, don't teeter-totter to pinpoint a certain area. All you need to do is put your hand on the sander just to guide it. And let the sander do the work. I'm pretty stubborn, but I really don't think I'll ever make this mistake again in my life, ever. Because to rectify this problem, I had to do about 3 hours worth of sanding, starting back with my 40 grit, 60, 80, 120, 180, 220, wiping with a microfiber cloth in between. Now the good news is I did get rid of those swirly marks, but the bad news is it led to a whole other issue. Even though this is a solid wood piece, I didn't realize that there was a layer of veneer on top that I ended up sanding all the way through in some areas. Talk about a heartbreaker. Y'all, I was devastated. So the reality is I may very well have to end up painting this top, but I'm not quite ready to give in to that. I want this top stained so bad. Maybe I can just stain it so stinking dark that you won't notice the change in wood pattern. I'm going to try at least. If it doesn't work, I'll have another sanding session and then paint, but I'm willing to take that risk to try to achieve the look I'm going for. So here goes nothing. Let's put our wood conditioner on. Just as I thought. Looks terrible. Okay, let's see what it looks like with some stain. Just as I thought. Looks terrible. Alright, so let's go in and just put stain on the lighter areas to try to even out that stain color. Okay, so maybe it helped a little bit, but this is just not acceptable. I gotta face the facts. This was a total flop, and I can't waste any more time with this. The sad thing is, look how pretty the unaffected areas look. Ugh, I'm just so devastated. Now it's time for Confessions of a Flip-Flopper. You know how we always say, wow, that took a lot of elbow grease, or you just got to put a lot of elbow grease into it. Well, my confession for today is I didn't realize you could really run out of said elbow grease. But since I've been flipping furniture, I quickly realized you sure can. I was having chronic right elbow pain. Went to an orthopedic doctor. He gave me a series of 3 cortisone shots. They helped, but the pain came back. Got an MRI. It showed a complete separation of the tendon from the bone and some other partial separations. Only way to fix it is surgery if I wanted to continue crafting and flipping. So I did it. I'm 3 weeks out. Here's my little scar. I'm doing great. But I said all that to say this. I didn't know that pushing through that pain would end up with surgery. So I want to stress to you the importance of saving some wear and tear on your body. In other words, that elbow grease. So I've got a couple of common sense tips to remind you of. Number 1, don't push through your pain. If you're having pain, stop. Take some ibuprofen, ice it, rest it. And number 2, think of ways that you can make your jobs easier, such as instead of hand sanding those hard to reach areas, get yourself a detail sander. Or instead of vigorously scrubbing those dirty pieces of furniture, get yourself some of those scrubbing brush drill attachments. They are awesome. So listen to your body, be good to it, and try to preserve as much elbow grease as you can. Okay, back to this flop. You know, sometimes things just do not go as planned. It's discouraging, but you got to just roll with the punches. So let's switch gears and get a new plan. I think I have 3 choices here. I can either sand completely through the veneer to the solid wood substrate and hope it will be pretty enough to stain, but whew, I've had enough sanding, thank you very much. I could paint it, or I could apply a new sheet of veneer and stain it. Y'all, I want a wood grain top on this coffee bar so bad. I'm going to go with option number 3 and apply a brand new veneer on top. Never done this before, so I'm a little nervous, but I'm going to give it a shot. I ordered this 24 by 96 inch sheet of white oak veneer from Amazon. It says it'll be here in 2 days. But while we wait for that, I can definitely be painting the body of this dresser. There's my dog Riley. Hey, Riley. I made sure it was clean again and scuff sanded and ready for paint. That top layer of paint was peeling off so easy, so I changed from 220 to 120 grit sandpaper, and that did much better. I did a little detail sanding. I'm a little worried about these drawers. It's really hard to sand all the loose paint around these ornate details, so unfortunately I think I need to strip these. I applied citrus strip with a chip brush and covered it with plastic and let it sit for 1 hour. I saved a little elbow grease by using my brush drill attachment, dipped it in mineral spirits and started brushing. It worked pretty good. I was impressed. But I think we're going to need to do another round of citrus strip and let it sit overnight. I've got the top and the legs wrapped to protect them from the paint. I used some Bondo wood filler to fill in some of those little imperfections where I did surgery on the bottom. And then sanded that off. Now I'm going to use some Zinsser Ben shellac base primer. Give it a very light sanding. Okay, back to the drawers. I came more prepared this time with, of course, mineral spirits and brushes, but also some steel wool that says this number, and bamboo skewers to really get in those tiny spaces. Okay, I got it down to the raw material now, but it was kind of weird because it almost looks like a plastic, like they made the front of the drawer like with a silicone mold. Anyway, now I'm using some Howard Feed and Wax, which has a lovely citrus scent, and I'm just going over all of the workings of the drawers just so they'll slide smoothly. I'm planning to spray this dresser with the drawers in, so I'm just going to come just inside with a brush and go ahead and get around these edges. And I'll go around the edges of the drawers. And I felt like I need to dabble a little bit of paint around these details before I sprayed as well. I'm using a very inexpensive sprayer by Veneer that I got on Amazon for like $30. It works great. I like to strain my paint through just this little Dollar Tree strainer. And then I'm going to thin it out with a little bit of water. Mix it up real good. And get my attachments on. And do some test sprays. It looks like it's kind of spitting out at me, so I think that means I need to thin it out a little bit more. Oh yeah, that's what I want. Okay, here we go with coat number 1. And remember this headboard, I'm putting the first coat of paint on that. That's going to go on the top just to kind of be a background for the coffee bar. I'm worried the spray is not going to get into these tiny little nooks and crannies of the drawer. So I'm just going to go with a little brush and fill in those deep areas. Okay, and here is coat number 2. Okay, the veneer came in. I'm almost ready to do that. I'm nervous, I'm intimidated, but I'm gonna go ahead and roll it out so it can be kind of getting flat. I'm prepping the surface by sanding with 220 and then going around the edges, of course, and then I wiped it with the alcohol. Here's the veneer. I'm just measuring it to allow a little bit of overhang, but to cut most of the excess away. I'll save these pieces for a future project. Okay, I'm gonna line it up really good and just start peeling and pressing. I've got just a piece of wood that's got a really rounded off edge that I'm using to push all the air bubbles out. I'm kind of having a hard time with the air bubbles and the ridges. So I heard if you iron it down and put some weights on top for a while, that would help. And that did help. Okay, now it's time to start trimming around this front curvy area. I'm looking underneath to make sure I don't cut it in too far. And I'm giving it a sanding and trying to just kind of bevel off those edges. Y'all, I'm really kind of struggling with this. I don't think I'm doing a very good job. I cut some places. I gouged out some places. Really struggling with this. Use some Bondo and some wood filler to repair the areas of this brand new top that I just put on. Okay, let's see what we got this morning. Oh no, oh no, oh no, 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 no. Oh my gosh. Look at this. It's rippling up. Oh no. You're not supposed to do this outside because it could still get moisture to it, and that's what happened. I watched several YouTube videos, but didn't do enough research on this. And all those YouTube videos that I watched, the people were inside their workshop. At a loss for words. It happens. I have learned so much. I'm glad it happened, because these are things that will never happen to me again. And sometimes that can only come with experience. Well, I got some experience now, but I'm heartbroken. It really hurts my feelings. Hello. I've had time to talk myself off the ledge, fall back, regroup, and I've decided to scratch this as a coffee bar. I'm going to go just a regular dresser slash possible buffet route. I'm going to do some research on how to remove veneer and remove this veneer, paint it black, paint the legs black. It'll be all black, gold hardware, and we're just going to sell it like that. I've got a new attitude, and we're going to start doing that. All right, here I go. So Natalie from a Ray of Sunlight, she was lovely, and she seemed to have a very good method for this. She said get the iron. This has been sitting with wet towels. Get your iron as hot as it'll go. She said for like 20-30 seconds. And let's see what we got. Wow, that's pretty good. Okay, I'm just going to keep doing this. Well, the veneer came up super easy, but I'm still left with this ooey gooey sticky residue that I'm just not in the mood to deal with today. I might have to get my husband to help me scrape it off.
We'll start on this crapola tomorrow.
Scraping, sanding, wiping. Scraping, sanding, wiping. That's what it took to get this back to raw. I didn't even video it because I'm ready for this video to be over, and I'm sure you are too. So let's get this thing painted and ready to sell. Boy, am I glad that's over. I'm glad this is done. I am very happy with the way it turned out. Even though my original plan did not work, the good thing about furniture is you don't have to throw it away, you don't have to discard it, just change your plans. and you can turn your flop into a good flip. I finally have this photographed and posted on Facebook Marketplace. I have it listed for $850. We will see what happens. I'll keep you posted. Okay, so I had that dresser on Facebook Marketplace for about 3 weeks. I started out at $850, came down to $750 after about 2 weeks, and then a couple days later, $650. Long story short, I had to end up letting it go for $500. I wanted to test my market to see what I could get away with, and it looks like my market is willing to pay $500 for a dresser like that. So, but anyway, I'm happy. I got $500. I am excited to move on to the next project, and I really appreciate you suffering through my first episode of flip-flops and shortstops. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.